Okay, here we go. Hi, my name is Dave. I'm a person in recovery and I have addictions that I want to be healed. Uh, at midnight tonight, I will have 132 days sober. My sobriety date is based on when I quit cannabis. I am speaking to you today from a special home on a very significant day. Today marks 6 months alcohol free. My last drink was right here in this home. This house is a home to an old friend of mine who has been sober for 15 years. Someone I used to party with in New York when I lived there. And when he had no place to live, he had a spot on my couch reserved for him when he was out and about doing whatever he was doing. I always said the door's always open and you can sleep on my couch. And so um, he lives here with his wife and two dogs. One of them is here, and you might hear her snoring in a little bit. Um, and this house has also been a home to other friends of mine. Um, One of my best friends moved his mother here when she was battling cancer, and she spent her last days here in this home. So this house has a lot of memories, and it's fitting that I'm speaking to you from here tonight. Thanks everybody for this. And I'm really nervous, so just bear with me. And I wrote things down, so I'm going to stick to my script, but not completely. Uh, Quick family background. I have a big family, so it might not be that quick. I'm the youngest of five, all boys. I was the accident surprise. My father is deceased. My mother will be 80 in September with 10 grandchildren. So that means I have six nieces and four nephews. My father was the son of Italian immigrants from Sicily and Napoli who met in Philadelphia. He was the oldest of four and has one surviving sister who I just found out my aunt is not doing well. So that's unfortunate to hear about today. But he was the only one of his family to seek higher education, the only one to marry a non-Italian, and the only one to move out of the Philadelphia area. My father was a doctor. He was an OBGYN, obstetrician gynecologist. So I've heard all the jokes growing up, and I had to endure them all. They delivered over 1,000 babies over his 30-year career. And he met my mother when they were in medical school. She was in school for nursing. My mother is the second oldest of 11 children, so Catholics, and she had all brothers. So she became a matriarch really early. So second oldest, 10 brothers, seven surviving brothers, two died before I was born, one from a knife fight and one from meningitis. When I was 18, her only older brother committed suicide. And shortly after that, her mother died of cancer. And that was right around the time I got busted for possession of marijuana on high school campus. So that was good timing. My grandfather lived to be 92. He died in 2007. He was a very intelligent man. He was drafted in World War II and rose to be a code cracker. So he worked on the Enigma code. He was a very intelligent man, and it always frustrated my father because he never said a word. He was very quiet, stoic man, um, but always the smartest guy in the room, the quietest guy. So I was raised in Manassas, Virginia, outside of DC, um, like from a loving family. Um, so how did I end up here, raising from a loving family and ending up an alcoholic, drug addict? I don't know. Um, I went to private school from kindergarten through eighth grade, had a good education. And then I went to public school in ninth grade, and it was a bit of a culture shock for me because the school I was in was very small. Um, and I didn't fit in with anybody. And so I had a tough time adjusting there. Um, and then when I was 15, I found my friends, which were, the skaters, the musicians, the artists, and we were the druggies. We smoking weed and started doing LSD, mushrooms. PCP was a big one back then, which is uh, angel dust on top of parsley. They called it green, also known as boat when you put it on pot. So we had a lot of drugs going on in high school, mescaline, and eventually we were snorting Ritalin, which is a drug for ADD and ADHD. We were crushing up pills and snorting Ritalin in high school, and we did cocaine later in my senior year, but didn't really get into that until I was older. Um, but so it was mostly weed, mostly hallucinogens, and I really bonded with a lot of friends then. I still have a lot of those friends today, and we have every 2 years we try to get together. So some of those friendships were really lasting. We did a lot of LSD and a lot of mushrooms, and we go on like nature hikes and things like that, and it was definitely a good time. Um, so so yeah, let's go to college where alcohol is always part of college. I tried heroin in college twice. One time I snorted it, and then the second time I injected it. But heroin, I saw it affect my friends in a bad way. I had one friend that overdosed and died, and then my high school girlfriend got busted with possession of it, and I saw another friend, just ruin his life. One of my friends betrayed me and stole from me, and he ended up going to jail. So I saw that heroin was like tearing apart a lot of my friends, and I stayed away from it. Also, it was really good when I did it, and I woke up the next day after doing it, going, "Holy shit, that was good! I should never do that again." And I never have since then. Definitely did some ecstasy and MDMA, and I guess I left that off the list of drugs. But anyway, you can get the idea. I did a lot of drugs, and it was very much part of our culture. Um, uh, yeah, so that gets us through college. Um, but I need to segue because I went to college for the arts. I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts. And I guess here's where I should reintroduce myself. I'm a person in recovery. I am an artist. I am an actor. I am a writer. Uh, I uh, I feel better about saying that because of the writers' meeting here at AAMP. Gives me confidence to say that, and I can sing and dance with help. I went to college for theater, so I was trained in theater and all of that, and it's something I take very seriously. And it is being an actor is a big part of my identity. Something I'm still committed to, something I'm still very passionate about, and I know that comes with a lot of judgment. So it's been uh, that's why I haven't shared it here. And but I'm learning to let go of that judgment and not be responsible for what people think of me, although I am responsible, as we all know. So the I'm getting more confident saying that out loud thanks to sobriety. And here's a recent example. I recently, just to give you an idea, just to let you know also that alcohol and substance abuse really did limit my uh, uh, artistic ability. I was drowning myself with alcohol and drugs, and it really did have a negative effect. It affected my career in a lot of cases where I had opportunities that I definitely blew, so there's a lot of regrets there that I'm not going to get into the specifics of. But recently, thanks to sobriety, um, I had an in-person audition for a musical, and it was great because in person, those of you that don't know, everything the pandemic and the lockdown, everything was self-tapes. You have to record, and then you send it to the casting director, and that's the way the casting process works now. But this was an in-person audition, and I was very excited about that, and I've been wanting to get back into the theater for a long time. So I prepared for it, and there was this great topic at a meeting, and this is great because it relates to recovery because there was this great topic at a meeting that was prepare for the action, not the result. And I was like, yes, this is exactly, it's so applicable to life and it's definitely applicable to recovery. Because when I came into the rooms, I was like, is this forever? Like, holy shit, I can't, I don't know if I can take this. But as we learn, or as I learn, you know, you just you prepare for the day, you get through your day, and the rest kind of works itself out. So I did that. I prepared for the action, not the result. I had a call back. I was offered an understudy for this production, this musical production, which is crazy, and I accepted it. So thank you all for keeping me sober and for that happening. I really I owe a lot to sobriety, to rooms like this one here, and um, uh, it's a big step in the right direction, and I'm really excited to get back into the theater and reintroduced to the theater in an understudy is going to be a good experience. Um, so I'm excited about that. It's not till June, so I have some time to prepare, but it's really exciting. I am learning so much about myself through recovery. That is one of the biggest things I think, and I hear it in the rooms from others too, and getting to know who I am, and it's huge. Uh, there's this great, okay, this is my only Joe versus the Volcano example, because if you know me, you know that I love Joe versus the Volcano, the movie. And there's this great beginning of the movie, he's got a limo driver, and the limo driver's like, "Where do you want to go?" Played by Ozzie Davis, incredible late great actor. He's like, "Where do you want to go?" And Joe says, played by Tom Hanks. Joe goes, "I don't know." He's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" Uh, I don't know. Go shopping for what? And so they get around to it. It's like shopping for clothes. Anyway, he gets around to it and he pulls over and he goes, "You're basically asking me who you are, and it's taken me my whole life to figure out who I am, and I am tired." And I just thought that is so, it resonated with me just because I'm learning about who I am slowly, and I know that it's going to be a long time till I, am confident with who I am. I'm getting better at that, and I'm getting more and more comfortable in my own skin in sobriety, and it's huge, man. It's really freaking huge. So yeah, so how did I get here? Let's back up a little bit because coming from a loving family, when did I take a turn to a darker turn? And that would be around when my father got sick in 2005, got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in January of 2005, and it was a very aggressive cancer that started in his lungs, and it was very painful to watch. My brother, who didn't have a kid yet, and myself and my mom were all primary caretakers, so we were the hands-on people day to day, and it was really nasty stuff. And it was tough watching your parent deteriorate like that, and it was frustrating for him because he was only 67, saying goodbye to everybody. People were visiting. It was very frustrating because he was looking at his charts too, and he's just like trying to figure everything out, and it was like that was so frustrating. And I just remember him like, "I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out," and I'm like, "I'm trying to figure it out too," and it's hard. So that was a big turning point. It was a lot of anger after he died. And I went back to New York. I was living in New York at the time, and I spent another year in New York. And that last year I was there, it was really it really turned up the notch as far as my anger at life and my drug use. My cocaine use increased, my drinking increased, a huge amount. But I was still doing like plays, working a couple of jobs, and I was just kind of burning the candle and just doing that thing. Um, and it was a fun time, but it was like a very grieving time. And it was just a lot of drugs, a lot of promiscuity on my part, and some stuff I'm not proud of. But in 2006, I moved out to LA, out here where I am now, and sunshine was what I needed, I think, and it was good for me for a while. Um, so when did it start to get real bad? Um, I Alcohol has always been a part of my social scene. Um, Definitely working in restaurants and things like that. I worked in coffee for a while too, and I didn't get too much into drugs and alcohol there, but always a big pothead, um, and always drinking socially. But when did it get really bad? Functionally, I was functioning alcoholic for many years. We used to brag about it, and highly functional, we used to say, like boasting. It's like, so that was definitely a thing. But between 2012 and 2020, I worked in restaurants, um, and cocaine became a big thing. Seems like every restaurant I've worked in, there's cocaine everywhere. It's like it's just a thing. So that was a dominating factor over those years. Um, and cocaine, we used to have three rules about cocaine: don't ever buy it, don't ever sell it, don't ever refuse it. And that was our rule. And I definitely bought it. So I didn't adhere to the rules so much, but I didn't really refuse it. But I ended up in 2020, I was the last time I did cocaine. So that's good. It wasn't as hard for me to leave behind coke because of the way it made me feel, the shame it brought. Talk about shame spirals. That's how I really felt about cocaine. Like that was the worst type of come down, and the worst, like, next day feeling like a piece of shit. All right, so that brings us to the 2020 lockdown, which got me out of a toxic job. It was a bartending job, and it was a bad place for me. I was definitely abusing alcohol and drinking on the job, and it was not, I was definitely participating in it, and it was unhealthy. And I take responsibility for that, and I'm working through a lot of that right now. Um, so the lockdown was in a way good for me to get out of that job, for a moment. It was good. So because I had my own, space, and I could just be in my little world and drink at home alone, and I had some money from this thing that came in, and it was all everything, like, things timed out well for me at that point. And I had no intention of returning to that job. Um, and then on May 5th of 2020, a friend of mine died. Um, we thought it was from COVID, but she ended up dying from drinking and drugs. But her husband didn't release the tox report, so he's also a good friend of mine. So that was tough when we found that out, that she had died of a heart attack in your sleep, basically, but from alcohol and drug abuse. So that was really hard. And it was May 5th, 2020. So that the anniversary is coming up. And it's still, 4 years ago, still sorting that out, and it's still tough. Um, she was a good friend of mine, and we'd known each other since high school, but then, and when we were 19 or 20 years old, we hooked up, because her best friend died of um, alcohol poisoning. But her best friend was 18 in her first year in college, and then died. And that's how we kind of got to know one another, through the death of her friend, and that's how we became close. So yeah, alcohol related death is hard. Um, so also in May of 2020, my sister-in-law got a cancer diagnosis, and that kind of set things. And I started to recognize that my drinking was getting worse. My friends were noticing my drinking was getting worse and saying something about it. So I started trying to do something about that. And I started white knuckling it. But I always use cannabis, in the interim. So I white knuckled it with the book. There's this book, in 2020. My friend gave me the book "This Naked Mind" by Annie Grace. Some of you might be familiar with it. And I was able to get 45 days around the summer of July, um, alcohol free. And then I went back into my old ways. It's just a lot of trial and error type of thing. Um, and then I told my doctor about my drinking, and he prescribed me naltrexone. And if you're familiar with that, it's an inhibitor. And I was using naltrexone to drink less. So then I got sober again in October of 2020 to arrange a sailing trip for my sister-in-law, my brother, and their son, while she was in between chemo sessions. So that was then there, and then all the attempts are sort of blurry. Like I would try to, you know, get sober on my own, and it just didn't work. I stopped taking naltrexone because it made me feel funny. It made me feel like weird, and plus I was still drinking while I was using it, and I don't think that was good. Um, I was going to harm reduction meetings through group therapy through my insurance, so I was still attending that, but I was still using. Um, and then so that was over the next couple of years, and I still attend that harm reduction meeting. And so then my sister-in-law died in August of 2022, and then I just went back to full-blown drinking again, and 2023 was pretty just, pretty much full on drinking all the time, 24/7, you know, except when I had a responsibility to go take care of my grieving brother who had an accident, and I went out there and helped him out because he had this neck injury, and I helped out him and the family then. But I reeled it in, but I was still drinking during that. So yeah, basically, I couldn't do it alone. Long story short, between May and September of 2023, I was isolating. I was lying to my friends. I was drinking all the time, just drinking and smoking pot. I wasn't doing any other drugs. And if I would show up to a social function, I would come in pretty hot, stay briefly, and then I couldn't wait to get home and start drinking alone again. It really was taking over my whole life. I was physically dependent on it. I was having, you know, fits in the morning where I would cough and nothing would come up, but it was really just these violent, horrible things that were happening to my body. And then in September, I had a panic attack. Um, September 2023, I was threatened with eviction because I was way behind on my rent. And I had a panic attack, and with the physical addiction and all this shit, and I didn't trust myself. I talked to my neighbor about it, who's a good friend of mine, and I think I mentioned that I had a rifle, and he took my rifle away from me because I didn't trust myself, because my thoughts were going crazy, and I just had all these, it was bad. I was in despair, very much in despair, very much reaching out for help from my friends, reaching out to my harm reduction therapist, who got me a bed in detox for 5 days. He got me a bed right here in Culver City, where I am right now. Um, And right after that, after I got out of detox, my friend who lives here said, "Are you still cool to?" It was, I was like, you still want me to dog sit?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure. Are you still okay to do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." He trusted me to come here, and I stayed here right after I got out of detox. And I remember, while I was in detox, I remember there was this panel. There was a bunch of panels, and I was sleeping through most of it, but there was one panel that an AA panel, and I remember one of the guys was an atheist, and I talked to him briefly because I mentioned that I was too, and he pulled me aside afterwards, and he was just like, "You know what, man, give it a shot, give AA a go, give it a chance, and if you don't like the meeting, go to another one." And that kind of thing. So that's what I did. I got out of the detox, came here, and that was when I still drank. So I asked my friend to get rid of all the booze in the house, right? And so he did. And his wife drinks, but occasionally. But so there wasn't that much in here anyway. But there's a liquor store right on the corner, and so I'm sitting here, and I'm like, no booze in the house, and I'm just jonesing for a drink, and and I was like, fuck it, I'm going. And so I went to the liquor store on the corner, and they only sell really good booze, so I had to buy a decent bottle of vodka, not the rot gut I was drinking. And I bought a bottle of vodka, and I drank it sitting right here. And I didn't drink the whole bottle in one night. I drank it the first half on October 1st, and then the second half on October 2nd, which was lightweight for me, because I was drinking a lot more than that. But this is after detox, so all the physical stuff that I had gone through, all the physical shit was out. So I did that, and I woke up on October 3rd, and I was like, fuck, I got to do something about this. Seriously, let's time. And so I I had this other book by Annie Grace called The Alcohol Experiment. And this is a book where you read a chapter a day and it talks about the effects of alcohol on the brain and on the body. And it comes through it from a very more scientific point of view. And it wasn't AA. So I was like, sweet, this is an AA. I'm going to try this. And it's great. And I was still using cannabis, but I was not drinking. And it got me started journaling. And while I was doing that, journaling about my days, it just got me in that habit. Um, I started going to AA Zoom meetings, sticking with my harm reduction group therapy stuff, and navigating the world of secular AA. And there are so many meetings out there, and it was kind of overwhelming. And I started just like taking it all in and like examining my relationship with marijuana, and looking at that under a closer microscope there. And eventually in November, after I started going to meetings at the Hole in the Sky, which was literature studies. And then I found Reason in Recovery, and then I found All Night Place. And those were shortly after I committed to abstaining from pot. Um, and that really was huge because this was right after Thanksgiving. The holidays were coming up, and those two, this place and Reason to Recovery, both really helped me get through the holidays. It was such a hard thing to do, and it was such a fun time. We were like hanging out, doing, trivia nights and bingo and like movie nights. It was just like it was super fun, and I was like, who are these people? And this fucking weird group of fun people. And I was like, oh, I think I found my people here, and I did. And I met my sponsor through Reason and Recovery, and we started working the 6 steps from that group. They basically take the 12 steps and they combine them into 6, and it's admission, willingness, discovery, exposure, restitution, and sponsorship. And I'm still working through the middle part there, and I include meditation, as was mentioned before. And as Jeffrey Munn puts in his 11th step, meditation. We started meditating, and I attend a secular meditation meeting on a regular basis, as well as host the meeting here at an all-night place. Um, and doing service has been a huge part of my recovery. Do Mondays are big because I do the meditation meeting during the day, and then I do slides for the nighttime meeting here. And it's great because it gives me a responsibility. I don't have a regular job. I have a lot of time where I don't work. So, dog sitting is great work here, but it's yeah, hi, we're talking about you. But there's a lot of downtime. I have a big pile of literature now. My brain is functioning at a level that I don't remember it functioning at. I was really drowning my brain out, and so all of these things have been great. I do service on Saturday mornings, and then I go to a meditation meeting, and then I go to the writers meeting. So before noon, I've gone to 3 meetings on Saturdays. It's crazy, but it's good. Every day I'm doing something for my recovery. I'm attending a lot of meetings, but I'm also writing. It's just I'm healing from the inside. And the thing is I want to be sober now. And I never thought I'd be at that point. Something shifted recently where I like this and I don't want to go back. I'm not in despair anymore. I have confidence in myself again. Is it scary? Yes, it's very, very scary. That it takes every day, and I get it. But I'm ready to face my fears, and this group has been a huge help in that. And that brings me to I wrote something for you for an all night place in my book this is dedicated to my writing for the Creatives Meet. For this is my writing journal. All right, so this is 6 months alcohol free, to an all night place. A non-alcoholic toast to you for welcoming me, encouraging me, empowering me in my sobriety. Inclusion, compassion, acceptance, empathy, just a few words to describe you. This collective of all kinds exemplifies the true beauty of human capability, that we can all gather here to heal, to comfort, to learn, and to grow. I now carry you with me. You have touched my heart, leaving a forever mark, a tattoo, a scar, or a badge. Yeah. One that serves as a reminder and now armor for the road to come. Here's to you, big virtual embrace. And that's written down, big virtual embrace. And that's for you. Thank you all very much. I love you. And thanks for being part of my recovery and for being here tonight and giving me the space.